Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, taking another look at this Florida Utah game, as there's been some massive development stories, right? We took a look back at this game about a month ago, kind of assuming Cam Rising was going to be healthy. And as the days and the weeks have gone on, it sounds more and more like Cam Rising might not be suiting up. So we're going to revisit this game, talk about what it might look like without Cam Rising playing for the Utah Utes. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys. And when we previewed this game last time, like a ton of feedback, a ton of support from you guys. So one, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, let us know in the comment section who you guys are rocking with. Again, the support you guys have shown truly does mean a lot. We love talking ball, taking you guys' picks in the comment section. So let us know, Dylan, to kick this one off to you. Let's start with the absence or the potential absence of Cam Rising.
I think the potential absence of Cam Rising, that makes this game really, really compelling. And quite frankly, with Cam Rising, I think this Utah team is probably too much for Florida realistically, just given that Florida's coming on the road with a very young team and a Utah team that frankly was very young last year. And I just think when Utah is young and they get experienced, that's when Utah really becomes a problem. So I kind of suspect Utah's going to be good in a sense, or is going to be very good.
Yeah.
But without Cam Rising, they rely so much on him. And I think people think when they think Utah, oh, it's a system, they run the ball really well. No. They ran the ball well last year, but not like quite as well as I thought they'd run it in the past. And they relied heavily on Cam Rising both to throw it and run it.
Yeah, I mean, this Utah team continues to be underrated nationally, and Cam Rising as a quarterback continues to be disrespected nationally as well.
Criminally.
There's two sides of this that are really bad for Utah in my mind. One, you're losing, in my opinion, a top 15, probably even top 10 quarterback in the country. And then two, like the backup situation seems to be, I wouldn't say a dumpster fire, but like you have a lot of question marks about who's going to be the backup. Kyle Whittingham during his press conference today says Bryson Barnes, Nate Johnson, they're in a heated battle. We don't even know who's going to start, which is like you don't even have a guy that's taking all the quarterback one reps if Cam Rising doesn't play. So in terms of the quarterback play, like you have a massive question mark heading into this game, and I want to talk about this Utah offense, whether they can move it on Florida. Dale, I'm going to tell you this, Russ, right now. Austin Armstrong, the 29-year-old defensive coordinator, youngest at the Power 5 level, noted for his aggressive nature. He's going to get after it against whoever's playing quarterback for the Utah Utes.
And you got to think Austin Armstrong's smelling a little blood in the water. And I think he wants his tenure to kind of start off with a bang. I mean, you think Florida, you think very not physical, a little like, I don't know, just not an aggressive, tough unit. I think he's coming in to change that. I think he's got an opportunity to really put his foot on this Utah team if he can like attack quarterbacks who, again, you mentioned are very inexperienced. And to me now, he also has the talent a little bit more than he probably did last year. Like with these young guys and the way some guys like McClellan played and Shamar James played, I mean, you look, this Utah front seven Florida front seven might take some big jumps because those young guys I thought played awesome and they were very, very thin last year.
Yeah, so what I envision is whoever Bryson Barnes, Nate Johnson, they're going to lean on Big Jaquindon Jackson, try to run the football on this Florida team. You're going to get, and we've talked, when we dove into the Austin Armstrong, a lot of Florida fans have probably listened to that, my deep dive into the Austin Armstrong scheme. Like, you're going to find out really quick if this Florida Gators front seven can hold up, because Utah is going to try to run it. They're going to try to run it hard. You have the thin air. A large question mark that I've been hammering home for the Florida Gators was their depth in the front seven. They just didn't have it last year. They go out and get Caleb Banks, Cam Jackson. You have guys like Chris McClellan kind of taking that next step. Desmond Watson. Is this Florida Gators front seven deep enough and talented enough and physical enough under this new Austin Armstrong defense to stop this Utah ground attack? And if they can, it could be potentially a long night for the Utes.
And that'll be the thing is I'm not like totally convinced this Utah offensive line is that like monster unit that maybe was in 21. That 2021 unit for Utah was incredible. I thought last year they just weren't as dominant, and they were very good. But when you think Utah, you think like one of the best in the country, probably the best in the conference. I'm not 100% sure they were at that level all year last year. But again, they are going to, you talk like a young team, going to return some guys. Like this unit, this is going to have to be their game where they come out and kind of bring back that Utah like just be able to pound teams into submission. Because again, you just don't really have a ton of faith that you're going to be able to throw the ball and have a quarterback who makes those bailout plays that Cam Rising did last year. Because you think back when they needed it on 3rd and long, he could make plays with his legs, he could throw it. He was just a bit of a magician back there, and I just don't see how you can reasonably expect that from the quarterbacks you have now.
So I guess before we go to, the next story is like, I really, really am high on this Utah defense. I guess I'll ask you this simple question. Do you think Utah will be able to get the ground game going? Because if they can't, it's a big storyline for this game.
I think it's going to be good enough. And I don't think this Utah team is going to score much more than 21 points without Cam Rising realistically. Okay. But I think I think they maybe have a little bit better weapons on the outside. Maybe they can hit one or two big plays.
I'm high on the Utah weapons, right? Like, I think Brent Keithy, yeah, I think I said that one right. I messed it up on the last time. Like, he's a stud. People forget because how good Dalton Kincaid was and he went down with injury. Like, he can play. I like Valley. Like, they got some weapons. I just don't know if they have a quarterback who can get it to those weapons. And
that'll be a problem for sure. So it's you do like what they added. I think adding Pittman was a nice guy because obviously he's a guy who can make some plays with the balls in his hand. But you're right. I mean, if the quarterback play is really bad, like, look out. I think you got to expect it to be good enough. Like, it's not going to be Cam Rising, and that's why I think this game is very interesting, at least on the surface, and who's going to win. But if it's okay, I think between Jaquindon Jackson, that offensive line, I think they can do enough to score, like not be totally enough.
I think the storyline is, okay, we know you don't have Cam Rising back there. Okay, we got that. Is this quarterback play going to be decent enough to be two-dimensional and be balanced? Because they always had balance with Cam Rising. They wanted to run the football, be physical, but they had a quarterback that could hurt you if you wanted to load the box. Is the quarterback, whether it's Barnes, whether it's Nate Johnson, do they have a quarterback that can have a balanced offense? If not, again, I really do like Florida's defense getting after it a little bit. Now, let's talk about this Florida offense because there's plenty of question marks, and this Utah defense getting a lot of guys back. It's going to be one of the better units in the country. I guess now the question is, I think we agree Utah's offense definitely takes a hit without Cam Rising. Can Florida score enough points to win this one on the road here?
And this is where I really like what Utah is going to be.
Yeah, you're a Gators hater, and I hate it.
No, I'm a Utah fan. I think when Utah plays with that many freshmen and sophomores, like first-year guys, and then they return pretty much all that group, that's a dangerous Utah team. Because Utah is a team that very much relies on getting guys in their system and developing them. You don't typically see Utah come out and play that young and be that effective. And they certainly had their growing pains. They had some really bad games, like you think to the UCLA, you think to USC. Like, they definitely had their moments of like, all right, this unit's got to get a little better. But I think you saw that. I think they played tough against Oregon. I think this unit has the talent now and the experience to be really, really tough for this Florida offense. That, again, without Richardson, that offense would have struggled a lot last year because they did rely on some hero ball out of him.
I'm with you on this Utah defense, and you noted it best. I think Kyle Whittingham was sitting there last year winning a Pac-12 and looking around the Pac-12 saying, y'all really let me win a Pac-12 with this young of a team? Because this Utah team normally is a team that, hey, we got to get guys in the program, get them developed, player development, top-notch at Utah, and then go win. They won with the young team, especially on defense. This defense is going to be elite. Now, here's why I'm optimistic about Florida. Last year, Anthony Richardson made some splash plays, and I'm with you. I don't think they win that game without Anthony Richardson. He put on truly a magical performance against Utah. I also did a deep dive into Graham Mertz. I think Graham Mertz brings a little bit just even-kiltered consistency to this Florida offense. I'm going to make the throws that you want me to make. But here's the thing I don't think people are talking about because they're not sickos and follow recruiting. Florida's bringing in some guys who are absolute speed demons as true freshmen, and they've been balling out in fall camp. And if there is a one way, I don't know if Florida will be able to run the ball right down Utah's throat. Florida leans on the run, big offensive line, some big bodies, obviously really good running backs. I think Florida can get behind them a little bit. If they can find some of the speed and find some of these true freshmen to kind of get behind this Utah defense, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And that is one matchup I'm kind of optimistic for Florida's. Can they get behind this Utah defense and kind of hit some explosives?
And the thing is, they're going to need to do that because you look last year, they rattled off a bunch of big runs, but aside from that, really weren't wildly consistent on offense. And a lot of that was predicated on Anthony Richardson making it very hard on that defense. And in providing that read option look and the ability then to spring Johnson and Etienne. So like that three-headed monster of running attack obviously very worked. You take away Richardson, you get a Utah team that gets some experience, again, build some confidence through that linebacker unit that was very young last year. They are going to need to hit those big plays, and the issue is I don't know what about Graham Mertz and his performance at Wisconsin makes you so confident about what he's going to do at Florida. I get that he didn't necessarily have the weapons and the scheme at Wisconsin to like uncork it and really play well, but even you just didn't see anything close to like this real ultra. He was fine and like decently consistent, but like consistently average.
Yeah, and I think that could actually help Florida because, like, what you got from Anthony Richardson was just like about as far away from average as you could get. It was either like, this guy's going to win a Heisman Trophy, or like, how is this guy going to the NFL? So I think bringing a little bit more consistency could help this.
Florida I will offense. Also say, in fairness to Anthony Richardson, that wide receiver unit was not the best last year. So now you do bring in some young guys who. Again, what young wide receivers typically work. If they can run, you can run. You don't need necessarily that development. It's like if you're a freak athlete, go out there and make some plays. So I do think that helps this Florida offense. I don't know. This Utah defense across the board played really young. I think the secondary last year maybe gave up some plays here and there. I expect all that to get tightened up because you're returning guys like Sione Vaki playing as a freshman and Cole Bishop playing as a sophomore. I just think they're going to be more ready to rock and roll, and I struggle seeing Graham Mertz piece this team up. I just when I look at Graham Mertz, I don't think like, ooh, this guy's going to light up a good defense.
And I don't think they need to piece him up to win this game. So let's get to the pick here, Dill. Utah 4.5-point favorites. I have a feeling where you're going. I think we're going to have to battle it out here. What's your pick here?
Yeah, I mean, I suspect if you listen to this, I think Utah's going to be able to grind this out. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's kind of going to be right on that number, frankly, and Florida can easily win this game. I don't want to make that like with Cam Rising. I don't think there's a chance in the world that Florida really wins this again. Maybe if something magic happens with Florida, maybe they can win it. But with Cam Rising, I think this is a bit of a foregone conclusion. Without Cam Rising, this Florida team is right there. I think Utah's going to be good enough on defense to kind of keep them at bay, but I mean, you got to be worried if you're Utah for sure.
Sounds like you're not confident. I'm confident. Gators.
Oh, I'm not wildly confident. It's hard to be confident in this Utah team without Cam Rising, and that's just because I think Cam Rising is wildly disrespected for what he brings this Utah team. I mean, he's elevated them to very much a new level.
Give me Florida. I don't need the points. Florida money line going on the road Thursday night, and this was a game where I would have been comfortable taking the money line when it was at 10.5 too, because
that's crazy.
I know, but I think at the end of the day, Florida has a ton of talent. Well, yeah, I don't know. It sounds crazy to me too. Like I really do like this Utah team with Cam Rising. Give me Florida. I don't need the points. I think they go on the road, make this happen. I think you have a revamped, deeper front seven. I think Graham Mertz can score enough points, and at the end of the day, I have question marks about this Utah offense without Cam Rising. This is going to be a fun one, though. Like, I'm telling you.
Now it's so fun.
Like Utah could have me back there, and, like, they're going to be a solid team. And I'm a horrible athlete. There's a reason why I'm in my bedroom talking about college football on my laptop. So,
yeah, I will say that's where I think you have this Utah team a little wrong. Like, Cam Rising makes that team really good.
It's so hard. It's so hard because you don't want to you don't want to disrespect this Utah team, but you also don't want to disrespect Cam Rising.
I know it is tough because Cam Rising
puts you in a bind. All right, that'll do it. Dill on the Utah Utes -4.5. Give me Florida Gators money line. This is going to be
scared, but I'm doing it.
Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys again. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.